But if you can find all of the numbers on the top, thank you, have a good week. If you can find all of the fractions on the top row, then you can find the rest of them, okay? And the ones that you need to memorize percent-wise are a third and a sixth, okay? If the only two that you need to memorize are a third and a sixth, you can find everything else, all right? So looking at the top ones, okay? The first thing you want to do anytime that you're trying to find these, so let's say you're lost and you have no idea what the percentage of a half is, okay? Well, we know that the denominator is the bottom number, tells us how many parts we need to divide the whole thing into. So you always want to make a rectangle. Let me do this on the smart board so you guys have it if you need to look at it. So for a half, we want to draw a rectangle. And how many equal parts should I divide the rectangle into? Lindsay? Two. Now, if I'm taking 100% and I'm dividing it into two equal parts, how much is each one going to be worth? Hunter? 50. So each one is worth 50%. So 1/2, or 1 out of the two parts, is 50%. Okay? The next one. Remember how I said you have to memorize thirds? Remember how we cut it apart? Okay, the thirds is going to be the hardest one for you guys to come up with in the sixth. So we're going to skip that. 1/4. What do I do first? I draw a rectangle, and the 4 tells me that I need to divide it into how many equal parts? Amanda? 4. So I'm going to divide it into 100 equal parts. If the whole thing is worth 100% and I divide it into 4 equal parts, 4 times what will get me to 100?
4
times 25. So that equals 100. So each fourth is going to be how much? 25. So each fourth is going to be worth 25%. So 1/4 is equal to 25%. Okay? 1/5. The bottom number tells me how many equal parts I need to divide my fraction into. Here's my whole. How many equal parts do I need to divide the whole into if we're looking at a fifth? Kaden? 5 equal parts, because the 5 tells me to divide it into 5 equal parts. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if the whole thing is worth 100%, and I divide it by 5, 5 times what will get me to 100? Kennedy? 20. So 5 times 20 equals 100. So each fifth is going to be what percent? Allison? 20%. So 1/5 would be equal to 20%. Okay? Remember how I said thirds and sixths are hard ones? We're going to skip those and come back. If we're looking at an eighth, remember, a fourth is 4 equal parts, right? What do I do to a fourth to make them into 8 equal parts? If I have 4 equal parts and I need 8 equal parts, what am I going to do, Tim? Well, how am I going to add 4 more if I have 4 of them? There you go. I'm going to split them in half. So now I have 8 equal parts. If the whole thing is worth 100 and I divide 100 by 8, okay? That's what we're looking at. So 100 divided by 8. This one that you can't get to very easily, okay? So I know 8 times 10 is 80. And when I subtract that, I'm left with 20. How many 8s will go into 20? Amanda?
4.
8 times 4 is 20. How many 8s will get you closest to 20? 2. Which is 16. And when I subtract, I'm left with 4. Okay? So what I have here is I have 12 and 4 eighths. Isn't 4 eighths the same as what as its lowest denominator? 1/2. So what we're saying saying is this is equal to 12.5%, right? Isn't 12.5 half of 25? Okay. So fourths and eighths are related. So 1/8 would be equal to 12.5%. And then 1/10. If I have a whole thing, the bottom number tells me I need how many equal parts? Elise? 10 equal parts. So if I have 5 equal parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can just cut those in half, right? So what I'm saying is I want to divide, can I have your attention? I want to divide 100 into 10 equal parts. What's 100 divided by 10? 10 times what gives me 100? Ernie? 10 times 10 gives us 100, and I'm left with nothing. So each part is 10%. So we've come up with the percentages for 50%. I'm sorry, 1/2, 1/4, 1/5, 1/8, and 1/10. Okay? 1/3. Remember how I said 1/3 and 1/6 you guys are going to have to memorize? Okay? Well, let's look at a third. If I take a third says I divide it into three equal pieces. If I divide 100 by 3, 3 times what will get me closest to 100? 3 times 30. That gives me 90, and I'm left with 10. How many 3's can I take? How many 3's will go into 10 without going over if I skip count by 3? Tim? 3 times 4 is... Let him figure out, okay? Doesn't help him give the answer. If you're skip counting by 3, how many 3's will go into 10? What? How many 3's will go into it without going over? 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. That leaves me with 1. So I have 33 and then 1 out of 3. So this will be 33 1/3%. Okay? And then a 6, we would just take, if I have the whole thing, and I divide it into 6 equal parts. What I'm saying is let's divide 100 by 6. How many 6's will go into 100 without going over right now? 10. So 6 times 10 is 60. And I'm left with 40. How many 6's will go into 40 without going over?
6.
6 times 6 is what, Noah?
36.
36. And we're left with 4, right? 6 won't go into 4. So we have 16 and 4, 6. And 4, 6 can be reduced to 2/3. So we have 16 2/3%. So those are the fractions at the top, and if you know those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you can find the rest on the chart. Okay? What time are we looking at?
9:30.
All right. So let's just look at tenths. If I find tenths, okay, and 1/10 is 10%, what would 2/10 be?
20%.
20% because you would add 2 twice. 3/10? 30%. 4/10?
40%.
5/10?
60%.
Let me erase this. 6/10 would be 60%. Hello. 6/10 would be 60%. 7/10 would be 70%. 8/10 would be 80%. 9/10 90%. And 10/10 would be 100. Okay? Now, the other one that we're going to look at today is the fifths, because tenths and fifths are related. Okay? If you look at fifths, which is here, okay, you get more per part. So if 1/5 is 20%, 2/5 would be that doubled, right? Which would be what? 40%. And 3/5 would be, Gage? 60%. And 4/5 would be what, Vivian? 1/5 is 20, 2/5 is 40, 3/5 is 60, 4/5 is, let's just color it in. Here's 20, that's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, or 3/5, 4/5. This is 20, 40, 60, 80%. Okay? So we've got the fifths and the tenths. Let's look at the relation. 1/5 is 20, 1/10 is 10. 2/5 is 40, 2/10 is 20. What do you notice about them? What's the pattern that you see between fifths and tenths? Hannah?
Tenths are half, like if it's 2/5 and 2/10, it's just the tenth is half of the
Right, because aren't you cutting a fifth in half to equal a tenth? Okay? That's all we're going to look at for this chart for today. We'll continue to look at them more. But right now I want to get into a game that we're going to be playing today called the In